Hi, I'm Tony and in this video we'll be discussing shading. Shading is like the snake oil of the art industry. Most people believe that it makes their drawings look 3D, but that's not quite right. Shading helps with contrast in your drawings, but generally your subjects looking 3D has more to do with perspective and constructive drawing. If you don't understand the shape you're shading, then your shadows may alter its form and ruin the illusion of three-dimensionality. So I strongly suggest you learn how to draw cuboids, cylinders and spheres before looking into shading. But assuming you can draw all of these shapes, let's look at some examples. If part of an object is hit by light directly, then it appears bright. If it gets hit by reflected light, then it appears to be in shadow. And if light does not reach it or it can't reflect it, then it looks pitch black. An object can also appear bright or dark based on its light reflectance value or its local value, which refers to how much light it can reflect. So, by taking a closer look at this painting, you can tell that there's a clear line dividing the lit area from the dark one. This line is called the line of termination or the terminator, and it's found on the equator of the sphere, the edges of a cuboid or the sides of a cylinder. Right next to it we have the core shadow. This is the second darkest part of the sphere, and its placement so close to the lit area might seem counterintuitive, but it's not. Remember, the only reason we can see the dark side of the sphere is due to reflected light. In this case, the object reflecting most of it is the ground, and as such, it is only natural that the core shadow is the area furthest away from both light sources. This is also why some shapes get darker as they go up. Now let's take a look at the area between the sphere and the ground. This is called the occlusion shadow. Despite it being so close to the ground, the angle at which light must be reflected to reach it is so sharp that most protons lose all of their energy by the time they get reflected back into the viewer's eye. As you can see, these are the same type of shadows that occur inside the nose and mouth. On the other side of the terminator, we have the halftones, which are a transition zone between the center light and the core shadow. The center light is the part of the sphere that is seen directly by light. Somewhere inside the center light or the halftones, you can find the highlight. The highlight is the part of a sphere that is perfectly oriented to reflect the most protons straight towards the viewer. Because all the points on a flat plane reflect light the same way, they usually don't have highlights. But some planes can reflect more light than others, like transition planes for example. These are planes that connect two other planes, and due to their angle they are more likely to reflect light directly into the viewer's eye. This type of highlights usually look like lines, and they are most commonly seen on cylindrical shapes, pieces of armor and so on. Such planes can also transition more than two other planes. In such cases, the highlight usually looks like a dot, same as the one found on our sphere. Fun fact, both of these highlight types are commonly found on the nose. Anyways, when drawing shadows, you should simplify all of your drawings into basic planes. This is because similarly oriented planes usually have similar values. You can figure out which values to use based on the Lambert-Falloff rule. This rule states that the value of a plane is based on the angle at which light hits it. Of course, in real life, we have reflected light and local values, which means the values in your drawings will look different from the ones in this chart. Finally, there's one more type of shadow which we must discuss: the cast shadow. The cast shadow is the shadow casted by a lit object, and you shouldn't draw it like this. Don't just guess its size and form, but rather use the light source as a guideline. So let's look at three examples. First, draw a vertical line going from the light source to the ground. In the case of the cuboid, draw lines going from the end of the vertical line through the corners of its base. And then draw another set of lines going from the light source through the top corners until they hit the green lines. If an object floats above the ground, draw its shape as seen from above on the ground and use that as the base for the green lines. Then draw the red lines, this time going through both the top and the bottom corners. In the case of a sphere, draw a circle on the ground and use that as its base. I mean, just look at the difference between these two drawings. One of them clearly has more character than the other. So, now that you know what everything is and where it's found at, you should be able to draw a sphere like this. Start by dividing the surface into light and shadow areas using the terminator. Add in the cast shadow and fill the form shadow with a value 4 and the cast shadow with a 7 or 8. Once your drawing looks like this, you can darken the chord shadow to a 6 or a 7 and the occlusion shadow to an 8 or a 9. Moving over to the lid side of the sphere, draw in the halftones with a value 3 and the center light with a value 2. Finally, leave the highlight white or draw it in with a value 1 if you're drawing on a colored background. Remember that the values of your shadow also depend on the light scenario and the local values of the object you're drawing, so don't just copy and paste this every single time. Also, another reason why your shadows may look like stains is because you're mixing the values in the lid area with those in the shadow area. If something's found in the lit area, it can only be used in the lit area and vice versa. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe, and leave any questions you have in the comment section down below. Bye!